Film Fridays, or as you might otherwise know it, Fish Film Fridays. It all depends on the mood that Tim Apple is in on the day in question. Today we will be discussing the 2017 Hungarian film named On Body and Soul. It won the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival and was directed by a woman. It was also set in Budapest, where Daniel did a little summer school in the philosophy of physics at George Soros University once.
George
So,
Soros University. Wait, that's a thing?
no, it's called Central European University, but it's funded by him.
Okay.
Idiot. Okay. And J Red, how are you doing this evening now that you've butted in?
That's good. I'm doing good. I'm enjoying my Mr. G's whiskey Coke. This movie wasn't one of my favorites, but we'll get to that later. But everything's good over here in my part of the world.
Okay, you had to start off negative instead of just introducing yourself. And Tim Apple, how are you today? Or should we call you whatever the other name was?
No, I'm Tim. I'm drinking a Coors.
Oh, those mountains are disappearing.
Tonight we let the Coors talk.
Trust me, they're cold. It's cold as the Rockies.
Ooh.
As cold as Jared's Heart Toward Art film. Okay, so this movie On Body and Soul is about two people in general, and they are named Andre and Maria. And they work at a meat slaughtering house. And what happens is that Maria is hired, and she's a little bit of an awkward girl. She's not very nice to her coworkers, but she ends up befriending the CFO, who's got a fucked up arm. Then there's mating powder stolen, which seems to be like some sort of a pheromone substance that they use to breed animals at the slaughtering house. And this leads to a psychological review. And it turns out that the new friends have the same dreams from different perspectives. And in these dreams, they are deer.
Yep.
Then they start to test this and see what the parameters are of this shared dreaming. And then they start to sleep together so that they can dream together next to each other. And this inevitably leads to them falling in love, but it's hard for them because of their respective challenges, namely autism and a fucked up arm / being an old sad guy.
I'm glad you said autism, because she was definitely autistic.
And maybe like OCD as well, you know? But we can get into that. So eventually, of course, they fall in love. It doesn't go well. The girl, she's not really used to emotions, but all of a sudden she's feeling emotions. So she goes ahead and attempts suicide. And then, magically they end up back together, and they're living together and cutting tomatoes together, and the dreams go away. Any thoughts on that rundown so far, boys?
I mean, I think that's pretty accurate. You know, that's how really the movie went.
That's how the movie went. Are there any plot points that you think the audience should know before we move into more thematic discussions?
Well, I think there's some interesting stuff with that mating powder.
Yes, okay.
Does it never get resolved? Did we ever figure out who took the mating powder?
Yes. We did figure that out.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's the guy who is like the hiring manager, who's like his buddy.
Andre's fat friend.
He was the one that took it?
How did you not get that?
Oh, dude, I'll get to my whole issues on parts that I missed throughout this movie.
He sort of revealed it. And then so he reveals that he took it, and then it sort of just, it fizzles out, right? That's the last scene I think we see with him, kind of. And then there's the whole stuff about the other employee that they hired who's sort of a jock.
Yeah, he's like the womanizers trying to bang everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. And he almost our main character has sort of a reconciliation with him, you know. They sort of get along by the end of it, which is interesting.
Yeah, he invites him out for a beer, the Coors Light perhaps.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So we want to go in chronological order of our takes on this. I got some stuff.
We can do that. Are there any plot points that you want to bring to the attention of everyone that we haven't discussed yet?
I do.
The audience might want to know.
I think they're a whole description of a relationship of someone who might be physically impaired and someone who's emotionally impaired, or emotionally impaired, I guess is the good way to put it. I think that's most relationships, and I think this is just demonstration or symbolism. Think about this. It's usually a hot person with no personality compared to an ugly person, that ugly person being Andre with his physical disability. Finding each other. And that happens in a lot of relationships, just not as a parent.
So you are the... Who are you? Are you the autist or the cripple?
I think I am Andre the cripple.
That is such a bold take. In my notes, I had written down that Maria makes you and me look socially adept.
You and Tim?
No, me and Jay read. Jared, I've heard a story about you once sitting and saying very earnestly to your high school friends, "Guys, I think I'm autistic."
Yeah, that's true.
And this guy thinks
But
he's
I'm also
Andre.
ugly. I'm also ugly, so maybe I'm what their
You're
child is.
both of them.
But
And
she's
Rebecca's
sort
just
of
an angel.
she's a different kind of autistic. She's very cold. I mean, this isn't
Yes.
like I'm gonna name you any date. You tell me what year, and I'll tell you what day of the week it fell on. This is an autistic that's gonna make fun of you for being crippled. It's pretty rough.
Yeah. I don't know if she was making fun of him.
She was just stating her observations that were very.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, was she in a test tube or something for the beginning of her life? She really is sort of.
That's a little ableist, John.
Well,
all people.
She comes to this job and she's like, you can tell she's trying to like figure out social situations. When she goes home and she sorts of like sets up the action figures to like act out.
You don't do that too?
I don't do that. No.
You don't do that with like multiple core lights cans and go.
No, I don't do that at all.
Yeah, it is questionable how she got this long without having to ever figure out these things.
It could be about meritocracy. She's just really good at the job she does. She noticed she evaluated the beef and actually was honest about it.
Yeah, she's got those 2 millimeter accurate eyes.
Speaking of beef, I mean, those. What do you think of those scenes when early on when they're showing the slaughter? Did it make you want to go vegetarian?
Nah, that's life, man. But I like how they acknowledge that people in that job are sad because they're just killing cows all day.
Yeah, so this is a good little transition here. So why do we think that they spent so much time showing the animal slaughtering? What do we think the thematic purpose is of that?
Oh, I think that the cows going to slaughter are just symbolism for the factory workers who are just going there every day, but they're waiting for the rod through the head to put them out of their misery.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. It's sort of like the stuff with the deer as well, This is innate animal behavior, almost the courting with the deer play out in the dreams, and then the characters sort of act out that sort of skittish action there. So I'm wondering if, like, the cows being killed, that's another symbolism of just like, we are animal, we are beast.
Or it is also, I think, a way to make a very boring movie kind of have interesting scenes and get it to a 90-minute to a 2-hour mark.
That could be too. I felt maybe she had a friend who worked at a butcher and was like, can I make this movie at your butchery? Those cows weren't acting last I checked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
There was no, at the end of the movie, there'll be like, no animal was hurt in the making of this film. I got to think about 6 or 7 animals that were hurt.
Damn. In Orban's Hungary, you don't have to really respect animal rights, so yeah.
True that.
I don't know a lot about Hungary. Is that the leader?
Yeah,
yes, he's very
they're
far
about to get
right.
kicked out of like the EU because they don't
hates immigrants, hates gays.
Honestly, would be a great governor for Pennsylvania.
Well, I see why they call it Hungary. Did you see the food they were eating? It looked disgusting. I'd be hungry.
All right, let's talk about things we hate about Hungary.
No. So,
well,
okay, John, I think you're really onto something with the deer and the cow comparison. I really think you're onto something there.
Danny.
And I like that you pointed out that the two people are like deer in personality, which raises the question, what type of animal would you and your lover be in your dreams in like a little field where you're courting each other, what animal would you be?
Jared, go first. I don't
I a mouse and a pig.
Wow. Okay, they're not even the same animal.
I can't answer this.
They have to be the same animal.
Yeah,
They
I
have to be
think you have
the
to be the
same
same animal
animal?
because you can't fuck and make a baby with a cow and a pig and
Oh,
a
so we're talking about for procreation. Okay.
Oh,
No, we're talking about like in the like parallel to the movie. Think of the two
mouse and
animals.
a pig. Yo,
Turtles.
imagine
Turtles.
a pig fucking a mouse.
Or a mouse fucking a pig.
I would say if it was one animal kingdom, I would say an otter.
Wow. Okay. What if it was two separate ones, like our little autist J Red?
I don't know.
I think Danny's would be a Canadian goose. Please.
That's actually crazy you said that because I watched this with a lover and I asked this question and she said birds.
You know why?
Because I'm ugly?
No, 25% of birds are confused about the other person they're mating with.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What do you mean confused about?
Geese, 1/4 of geese are gay.
Is that real?
I look it up.
Is that as real as a pig having sex with a mouse?
Look them both up.
Okay, yeah. So there are a lot of other animal sort of themes throughout the movie. They refer to the young hot stud. They call him the new cock in the hen house. Did you guys pick up on that?
I did say that.
And then the wise janitor lady calls Maria a duck when she's giving her advice. She calls her like little duck or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is
And,
good. I'm glad she's friends with the janitor. That's always good. Or at least the janitor's advice giving.
Yeah, the janitor's like the realest character in this movie. They're like, "Oh, what do you dream about?" And she goes, "I fuck." Remember
Yeah,
that?
why are they all? I don't know. That seemed as weird when they were talking about what they dreamed about, and like they're sort of awkward about it. It's like it's not a big deal.
No, yeah, I agree. Maybe it's a cultural difference. We don't know.
I think their culture's sad. I think this is a really sad country.
And what are they making? I'm sorry about the food again, but there's a lot of scenes in the cafeteria. The food they're eating is literal slop. Is literal disgusting gelatin slop.
They're getting fed the same shit as the cows. It seems like.
Right? Why aren't they making burgers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
missed
Why aren't they making
opportunity.
burgers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So let me just start off something that pissed me off right away.
No, we're not there yet, Jared. Or what is it relevant to what we're talking about, or are you just gonna go on a drunken rant?
I'm gonna go on a rant.
Yeah, see?
I'm an honest pig about it.
Dude didn't
Yeah,
even
just like
know.
your father.
Dude didn't even know Guillermo del Toro was the guy who took the mating powder.
Guillermo del Toro was not in this movie.
But he looked like him, didn't he?
Yeah, he did look like him. I was like, don't try to get me on this. I almost fell for it.
Well, so Jared, you gave your little answer about feeling bad for the animals. Do you remember when I first asked this question? And so, do you remember the CFO saying how they're supposed to feel bad for the animals and that he won't hire the guy because he doesn't feel bad for them? Do you recall?
I thought that was a trick, though, in his interview.
Oh, you think that was a trick?
Yeah, that was just like he was just playing because he was already hired, and he said, you're already hired. I was just here for a final check."
Interesting.
I think that was a good question for him to ask because like you don't want a psychopath killing these animals.
It's not a question they ask about like in the army. Like, do you feel bad?
Do they ask that?
No,
do you feel bad about driving boats?
Feel bad about driving boats in the Palestinians.
Jared, I loved your D-Day post where you tried to take credit for D-Day on LinkedIn.
I'm glad someone caught on that. My brother gave me the same shit about it. I made D-Day in Gaza happen.
And then John, you made the comments about how we're all animals, and I thought that's very good. And what do we think that means about the dream itself?
Oh my gosh.
What do we think? What does it mean about the dream?
This is
Yeah,
such a
like
simple movie. It's a dummy. This is a Marvel level of like philosophy. I'm
oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm tired of you trying to make this act like this was a good movie.
Okay, tell us more, Jared. Let's back it
All right,
up.
let's just start off. You sent us down this movie, and I was so furious that I picked this on a night that I did not want to read a screen for 2 hours.
Oh, of course you would say
No,
that.
no, I'm starting off on that.
Of course you would say that.
I'm just gonna be honest. Hungary, like they are. This is the biggest accomplishment this country has done since like 1914. The fact they were able to get a mainstream Netflix movie like on the main menu for people in their native language. This would
Jared,
be
it
the
won.
first.
Jared, it won the Golden Bear, buddy.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that gay bar is. Cool. Okay, but like this is gonna be the first and last time anyone hears Hungarian in their life. And I think that's going to hold true very much. But give it one more century, and the purest art form of the English word of English language in film you won't see something like this. So this is a rarity. Where
Hopefully, it's not the purest form of English, which is the form coming out of your drunken mouth,
oh, okay,
stumbling over your words, not really making complete
no,
sentences.
no. It's just they should have had a dub version. I was so tired of this. I had to give this movie too
So
much
your
attention.
only critique is that you're a
No,
dumb
I'm not
American who
there yet.
can't read.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Okay. The exposition of the deer mating and like the deer dreams, so lazy. This is like Doctor Strange level, like, oh, we're both having the same visions of the multiverse with Tony Stark and Thanos. Like that's that type of laziness of writing, like, oh, we're just having the same dream, so we're inevitably going to be in love together eventually. And like the vehicles they use to make that happen, like, oh, we're going to make a therapist come in and do a psyche eval on mating powder. Silly, just silly. That company was struggling. They don't have the money for a psychologist to come in there for that. No.
I did think it was weird. They were like, "How are we going to figure out who did this? Oh, we need a psychoanalyst to talk about our dreams." It's like, is this how they get things solved in Hungary?
That was a weird part. I will give. And then
No
they like
wonder
don't even
their
get the right
empire
answer.
lazy vehicle, just a lazy vehicle to make that happen and find out they're both dreaming the same thing. Other part to this that really pissed me off even more than the dubbing was they were trying to act like the mommy milkers on that therapist were something absolutely silly. They're like, oh, we're going to focus on her tits. And that was just like, that's when you know life in Hungary is sad. Is like that this was like, oh, everyone in the factories talk about like the hot therapist. This is like a middle school being like, oh, the hot substitute teacher came in today.
Yeah.
And
Do you think it's possible that there was a meaning behind that, Jared?
oh, what? That they're all simplistic mammals and they're like, oh, big boobs, and I'm
Yes.
all
I think
talk
that's
about it.
exactly what the point was.
So this one,
So-
the Golden Bear, and all
Yep.
it is, it's not much different than that stupid Netflix show with John Mulaney, Big Mouth.
Okay, sure.
Oh, I hate that Big Mouth show.
I
Yeah,
hate it
Big Mouth
too.
so
I hate it too. But it's on the level of just lazy writing, trying to give a very like make it act like it's a deep movie when it's just going over the same plot line that's been covered over and over again. And I'll rest my case there. I have about 3 more points I'd make later, but I'll save them.
Okay, I don't even know how we got there. Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that you said that the deer were mating, and it's important to note that they, in fact, do not
Never
mate
made
at all.
Correct. But like the first scene you knew, like, oh, a buck and a doe.
Well,
They're
they're courting. I mean, he rests his head on the back of the doe. He reveals the juicy leaf for the doe. They sort of chase each other through the woods. It's very, it's playful. It's like dating in the deer world. So I would say it's a
agree. Courtship. I like that, John.
I swear they just went on like and got B-roll. Like,
did you think those were real deer or CGI deer?
I don't know.
First scene,
I doubt
I
they
was
got
like,
B-roll given the.
but how do you
status
tell
of the
how
film.
do you get the deer to act? They were like
They
literally
They
acting.
probably just gave a Hungarian guy like 20 equivalents of euros and say, go film deer until they are doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know
Early
about
on, I
that.
was like, those are fake deer, and then
Yeah, I don't know
early
about
on, I
that.
was like, those are fake deer, and then after, I was like, maybe they're real.
They might be trained. I think it's possible that they're trained.
I would no, what?
I don't know.
There was a lady in this town that I live in that had a trained domesticated deer that lived in her house with her like a dog. It was on the news a lot.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, pretty wild. It passed away like a couple years ago. You know what would have been a really funny freak thing in this is if one of the dream sequences were like the deer running into traffic and like dying, and that would have lined up with the bathtub scene.
Yeah, yeah. There is that one part where like he like sends her away after they spend that night together, and then he dreams at night and it's just the deer running frantically looking for her. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, oh, stop that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting.
I kind of I'm gonna be real. The last 20 minutes of this movie, like I had to really push through. Andre, did you think he had a lot of similarities to if like Matthew McConaughey had to be recasted for like an Eastern European Dallas Buyers Club?
He was definitely sickly.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did look.
sickly. No ponytail though. Dallas
Yeah,
Buyers Club, good movie. Slept on movie actually.
Dallas Buyers Club. It won, not the Golden Bear.
It's correct. It did not win the Golden Bear.
It was sort of sweet when he gets all excited about, oh, we had the same dream. He's like, what did you dream about? You know, I'm like, oh, this little freak wants to share this thing.
You know, what I thought was interesting. He fucked his fat friend's wife like earlier. I guess she was a big.
And she
Suit.
slept around, apparently, with
She did. She
everyone
was
at the
like that,
butchery.
yeah, she was like that Tennessee police officer.
Yeah. Why do you
What do we
think...
think? Nope, nope. You go, John.
I just said, why do you think?
No, I know that's weird.
That was like we had the
Are
same
you?
dream.
Are you? What have you been dreaming about recently, John?
Bro, nothing. I'm not telling you.
Ugh.
Why do you think that stuff with the... Like, what is the mating powder? I was interested about the mating powder.
Yeah. Do you think that the mating powder potentially is the reason for the dreams?
And like he was taking them and she was taking in the powder.
Yeah. Maybe the weird coworker like
Was slipping it into
drugging
the
them?
drink. He's slipping it in.
Yeah.
Well, the I was confused because the detective was like, they put it. Maybe I misread this, but like they put it at some graduation party or something, and people were like all over each other. Or did I just make that up?
No, no. There was a separate incident elsewhere in the world where that happened, and people were jumping on each other. Yeah.
Oh, but it wasn't from this
No,
stolen
correct.
maiden
It was
powder.
just like a precedent in legal history. Yeah.
I think that makes sense that he put the mating powder in their food in that slop they were eating.
Yeah, yeah. But then it's interesting that they weren't jumping all over each other. Instead, it was like the most restrained courtship of all time.
It's because they're both freaky, weird little autistic weirdos.
Uh-huh.
So, like, that is them going crazy. It, like, made her realize that she was a human being.
How many times have you thought you were like going to end up hooking up with somebody and then you ended up just sleeping next to them, no makeout? Not about having the same dream, but like, have you ever been in that situation? Like, oh, we're just in the same bed together.
Yeah, I have been in that situation before.
Yeah.
Why did you ask?
No, I was just thinking about that because I thought it was interesting too. I wonder if he thought the intentions were like, hey, we're going to say we're just sleeping in the same room, but like, it's going to escalate.
Oh, no, I believe that was earnest, I think.
Yeah, I think it was too.
This movie made me wonder if Fred and Wilma ever had similar dreams. Fred Flintstone.
Yep.
Maybe that's how they fell in love.
Okay. Flintstones was a better movie than this and gave a lot more deeper meaning and philosophy and also the struggles of the workforce.
Can we talk about her?
What do we think about the whole once they fall in love? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I thought it was interesting.
What do we think about their relationships with each other?
Well,
I like I like how she figured out how sex works, and I think she found out a similar way that most young Americans or people around the world are finding out anymore, and that's through internet porn.
Well, I
Yep.
thought their whole relationship was interesting. Where once they realize they have the same dream, and like they go to each other's house, and it's like, oh, it's gonna happen here, and then he like touches her, and she is super affected by that. She did not like being touched, and that sort of like sets him off. You know, like he's totally off on this relationship. Then she starts thinking about it more, and she's like, "Oh, well, like I just didn't know what to do. I don't know how to respond to touch." Um, and then like she starts then. Well, no, I guess
She
she
goes on
was.
like this whole journey of self-exploration.
Yeah, probably the best part in the
with
movie.
with her pediatric therapist. I love that part.
You thought that was the best part of the movie, John?
Yeah, I think her sort of discovering herself and like I mean the music scene when she's in the music store is like the best funniest scene. I think it's the best part of the movie.
Whoa, whoa. Yeah, I really liked when she was like laying in the park and like it's only been a few days since he touched her and she was like not happy with it, and then like the water hits her and she's like happy to be hit by the water, even though like
Mm.
previously she like had to wash everything and everything had to be perfect. It's like she was really changed by her lover quickly, you know?
I was surprised this was made by a female director because it seems sort of in the male gaze.
Like the boob thing?
No, not
Or
like the
what
boob
else?
thing, just like how she's sort of I don't know. It seems like
There's a
the relationship itself is like here's the CFO and like literally like his underling like this is a Me Too relationship. First off,
wow.
there's no real connection here except for they both are dreaming about deer, and that's probably due to drugs, as we've discussed. So I think
Yeah.
it's just like it's a disgusting relationship. I'm not really rooting for them.
Really?
Yeah.
I was rooting for them so hard. Like Jared said about the two broken people
What?
finding each other,
What did
like
I
a
say?
mouse and a pig.
What?
You're
Two
cutting out.
broken people finding each other.
Oh, two broken people finding each other. Yeah, that's point. That's a good point. And you know what? I'm okay with them finding each other because it looks like everyone's life in that whole country was miserable.
Yeah.
How much of
She's
the
like,
beef with this movie has to do with the fact that it was in Hungary?
No, I'm okay with it being Hungary. I like Budapest. George Ezra's song was pretty good. Um, but it was you brought up the point of was it a female director or like was it obvious it was a female like director perspective or in the lens of that? I'd like to argue that a Hungarian female director is probably more masculine than most Gen Z directors from America these days. Mm.
Do you ever notice that thing that Jerry does where he says something that no one agrees with, and then he pauses, and then he makes an agreement sound with
Mm.
himself?
I think that's so.
yes.
All right, I got another point. She got a cell phone. Big deal. This made me think of like Daniel when you um went like cold on all social media or kind of are currently. Um so like she's like, oh, this idea of having a phone's a big deal. Anyone remember the ringtone she chose?
I do not remember the ringtone. Tell
Oh,
us.
terrible. It was like the store bought the most obnoxious like ringtone of them all that like anyone over the age of like 60 has. And
Would
that's
it,
I'm like,
does this
okay.
movie take place? Does this movie take place in modern day?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question, John. It has to be a little bit earlier than now, right?
Yeah, there's
I
no
think it's
smartphones, but I don't know how what Hungary's deal is.
They definitely have smartphones in Hungary.
everywhere has smartphones.
Yeah. So
Afghanistan.
yeah, it probably is like maybe mid 2000s. That's a good question though.
Yeah, and
Their
they still get
TVs aren't very nice in the movie, I don't think.
yeah, but that's just life. They go to a CD store. Also, I thought it would
Yeah, CD
really
store, true. That's a good point. Yeah,
they
it's got
have
to be like mid 2000s, I feel
internet
like.
porn, so I'm thinking it's post '08, even though internet porn existed before '08. That was some good quality stuff. It looked like. Um, I thought it
Yeah,
would
her
really.
eating the gummy bears while she's watching the porn.
And we've all
That
been
was
there.
funny. That was funny.
I thought it would been really funny if you know how they had the CD store scene. if they would have done the same thing with the adult video store.
Right.
Yeah, and she's just standing there watching all of it.
Yeah, with eating the gummy bear still.
For hours, just sitting
It
there.
was a big old stack like this.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
That would have been good.
What do we think about the janitor's comment about love being all about movement?
I don't remember that.
When did she say that?
She's giving Maria the tips about how to seduce a man, and she says, "Oh, well, you need clothes that highlight your figure, and like, oh, you've got a good butt." And
well, again, it's this courtship. That's what. It's the animalistic courtship that we have to perform in order to find a mate.
But the janitor says it's about movement. What does that mean?
Was the janitor even real, or was she just
a deer?
Like, imagined
a deer.
Yeah. Like, did you ever see the janitor interact with any other characters?
Yes, she talks with all of the people outside the psychologist evaluation.
Or is she just the interpreter?
How much Instagram were you scrolling during this film?
Or was she just the inner dialogue of every person? Did we ever see her like in a three-way conversation? Or
yes, we do.
I don't know if that's true.
If I dreamed about deers all the time, I'd go out and buy a hunting rifle. I wouldn't worry about my movement.
That's an interesting take. Yeah.
What about the the attempted suicide?
Yes, that's a good thing to transition to. Yeah, let's talk about it. First of all, what's your guys' wrist cutting song?
That's a good question.
That is a good point.
Jared's is Comfortably Numb.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Mine's probably
Dan's also.
Something by Snail Mail, presumably.
I know. I was going to say Pristine. I thought about that when I wrote the question, John. I was like, John's going to say Pristine.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be pretty close.
I don't know what my wrist cutting song is.
I mean, you've got a big list.
Maybe like a Father John Misty song.
Oh gosh, I hated that you liked all of his songs on my Spotify years ago, and I'm still filtering it out.
There's no way I liked all of his songs.
You were on a drive with me, and I think we accidentally downloaded a playlist because you wanted to listen to him.
I don't know about this.
This is like circa 17.
Circa 17.
Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about with the suicide scene?
She wore Birks in it.
Yes.
I thought that was really, really funny. And because I was also wearing my Birks sitting on the couch, and I was like, interesting.
And I've been texting you about Birks over the last few weeks.
Yeah, we all, the Birks, man, they all, are you going to wear your Birks to your suicide? I know I am. Unless it's the blister, a Birks blister that drives me.
The Birks blister is what makes me cut my wrists.
I was happy that because we were like, it was during the whole movie, I was trying to figure out whether I thought I thought she was attractive or not, and what they were hiding, and because this was such a horny movie, I was happy that they had some nudity in it, but it was a very tasteful nudity.
It was very tasteful nudity. That sex scene they had was like the worst sex scene I'd ever seen in my life. It was easily the worst. I thought it was
probably one of the more realistic sex scenes between a person who barely has sex and a person who's never had sex ever in film.
Yeah, I thought it was a good sex scene, actually. I don't know about...
might be the best part of this movie.
I thought it was like a very honest sex scene.
Well, that's how... It's honest for you guys, maybe, but not for me.
You definitely have
a limit. The first time you put it in... The first time you do it with someone, the beginning of it is like that.
Right.
You know, where you're like trying to gauge.
Well, especially if the other person is a virgin. Like with her who is struggling with even giving emotion, did you expect her to be like moaning and like showing a lot of emotion?
No, she did have an odd little smile on.
And they're kind of breathing, like the deer are breathing in the deer scene. Did you guys notice that?
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The heavy
I think it's
breathing.
interesting, Jared, that you called it horny, the
I thought
film,
it was a
because
pretty horny movie.
I
I
would
thought
call it like a yearning film, not a horny film.
okay, I guess that's another way to describe it. Yeah, I'm just being a bit more crude.
Yeah, I don't think they ever really wanted to copulate necessarily.
But to me, their horniness might not be so explicitly known, but there's something driving them on the inside. So yearning is a good way to describe it.
But okay, so what do we think about the scene where she opens up the drawer in her kitchen and there's the two knives and you're like, oh my god, I know what's gonna happen. And then she picks up the one knife and she puts it down and she picks up a mallet. What was going through your head when she picks up the mallet?
I thought she was gonna like drive like stakes to her eyes or something. I don't know.
Wait,
Whoa,
before she cut
okay.
herself?
You don't remember this, John?
I don't remember that.
So she reaches into the drawer and there's knives, and you're like, immediately, I think most viewers are going, oh, she's gonna fucking slit her wrists. But then she goes for a big meat mallet, and she takes the meat mallet, and you're like, what the fuck? I thought she was gonna kill herself. And then she smashes the meat mallet through like a glass panel in her kitchen.
Oh, right. And then
Takes the
uses
glass
the
shard
glass.
and uses the glass shard to cut her wrist.
Well, that's very dramatic of a person to do.
So dramatic.
Once again, I think they're just using time filler. I think they just like, how can we add a little bit of suspense to this pretty boring movie?
Well,
No,
but
I think it's like I think it's a big signal of the transition that's occurred for her in the past few scenes, where like she's playing in water, she's laying in grass, she's listening to music, and then this perfect, like, everything has to be in line person
yeah,
picks the most unhinged, unsafe, unsanitary, illogical way to kill herself. I
yeah,
think it's brilliant.
that's true.
I think
I thought
it's
she was
brilliant.
gonna throw the radio in the bathtub too.
What did you say, Jared? You were
I thought
talking
she was
about-
gonna throw the radio in the bathtub as well.
Yes, I thought the same thing. Yes.
Yes,
Do you guys?
that's a big growth moment. That's an interesting point. That was really interesting. Jared, Daniel, do you see yourself as? Do you relate to the girl in this?
So the girl I was watching it with, well, okay, there are two things. The first thing is I take a sleeping pill every night, and then the cripple guy is like, oh, I already took my sleeping pill. And that's like shit I always say to girls. I'm always like, oh, I just took my sleeping pill. And then, so that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, like the thing with the Birkenstocks, actually, how her feet never touch the floor. That's very Daniel coded.
I think you might be a combination, but aren't we all sort of a combination of these?
Yes, I think we are. I do on the element of the growth angle. Let's talk about like how healthy this love seems, right? So like, first of all, it's so dramatic that she kills herself, but is that only because she's experiencing life for the first time through this relationship, or is it actually like, or is this how love should make someone feel, or do you think that's just a symptom of her shortcomings as a person?
No, I think it's something that everyone goes through, your first love, and how you feel after a first love breaks your heart or your disappointment. Yeah, he might not know how to process it as well, but is he gone?
He's gone. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk without him. Might not know how to process it as well, but she takes it to the extreme. But I feel like everyone after their first love was as devastated to a near equivalent level as her.
Yeah.
Or, for some people, it happens in their 20s as well after, third, fourth, fifth love, whatever it might be. Final thoughts. All right. Final thoughts on body.
John, you go first.
My final thoughts? My final thoughts. I mean, I thought this was okay. I actually thought this was okay. Are we giving a rating?
Yeah, just the normal final thoughts that we do. Yeah,
I give it a 4 out of 5, probably.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's probably like Flintstones level. And I'd say that Jared probably uses mating powder every Lentil Friday because the mercury from the fish makes it hard for him to fuck.
Does cause issues.
That was the roast?
That was the roast. That's all he had. Pretty weak.
I also wrote this guy looks like Daniel.
Oh, I was waiting for. Damn you, John. Damn you. That was my final. That was my final. Damn you. Oh my gosh. My joke was gonna be this is Daniel's every relationship, but if we bring it up, he ends up punching us. Oh my gosh! But my take on it, John. Are you done?
Yeah, that was my take.
All right, thank you, horizontally oriented man. My final thoughts on this is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would have put this on like the equivalence of like Iron Man 2 from Phase 1
Wait, that's actually pretty high, isn't it? The early Iron Man.
are pretty bad. No, Iron Man 1's good. The other two are pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I thought it was just a very if this was not a foreign film and something like US, like it would be like a A24 studio film. This would just been a pretty forgotten about movie. And I think it will be a forgotten about movie. No one's gonna care about this in 4 or 5 years. And I know that's not the intention of what this movie was made for. But I think it only is getting attention because it's for people from a certain mainline type background to make themselves feel like they have some culture, even though they're just living in sadness of the northeastern part of the U.S. Or mid-Atlantic region. But that's okay. That's okay. I would not watch it again. I wouldn't recommend it. On Body and Soul, I wish I'd have those 2 hours back. And I was drunk watching it.
You hated it.
Okay.
Disliked it. Should have been dubbed. If it was dubbed, I would have definitely liked it a little bit
You just
better.
can't read. You don't like to read.
Okay, most of the world had to read this. 99% of the world had to read this.
Bro, sub over dub every day.
Nah.
Sub over dub. Well,
Okay.
a lot of excuse me, my turn. A lot of podcasts shows about movies with 3 men. They've got 3 dumb dudes talking about dumb movies, or they've got 3 smart dudes talking about smart movies. And I'm glad that we can fill the market hole of 3 medium intelligence guys talking about a mix of bad movies and a mix of good movies. And that was my goal here today. And we've proven that if you've got the medium sort of subset of people, you got people that are going to understand it, like the Tim Apples of the world. And you've got other people who are just going to be a little drunk and slurring their words about how America's the best country on earth and thanking themselves for doing D-Day on LinkedIn. So, Fishy Film Friday viewers, I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be back to probably regular scheduled programming with J-Red's next selection.
Oh, can I give the hint of the next selection?
No, you can just renounce it.
Renounce?
Announce.
Oh. If we dislike the movie that early. Now, I have 2 options here, and I want to reassert what our ground rules were. Are we trying to do a movie we've never watched, or can it be a movie that most of us have probably seen or not seen in a while?
I think it should be, my personal view is it should be ones that not everyone has seen. Like, I don't want to be rewatching some movie that, like, I've always, like,
You're going to pick Captain Marvel or something.
Wait, is that the one with the girl?
Yeah.
That's so confusing to me.
I'm not picking a Marvel.
Why? You don't think there'd be a girl Marvel hero?
Well, John, what's your take
on it? On what?
What type of movies? I got 2 options.
Just tell us the 2 options.
I think it should be what you want to watch and what you think would be good discussion.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Okay, so I would like to do, in honor of the 80th anniversary of the Normandy landings, I would like
Jesus fucking Christ.
And the credit that I had for 5 years ago walking all the Normandy beaches, as announced on my LinkedIn, I'd like to do Saving Private Ryan. Or the other option was much different.
Yeah, please, let's hear it.
But I was going to save this for later.
Jared, you are such a parody of yourself. It's incredible sometimes. It's like a drunken hick in his hometown picking Saving Private Ryan after complaining about a movie with subtitles.
There's not many subtitles in that one.
What's the other one, you stupid fucking dumb as a rock piece of shit?
The other one I was going to ask you guys to do a double feature of Mamma Mia 1 and 2.
No, Jesus Christ, Jared.
Now you can only pick one movie.
Okay, so we're doing Saving Private Ryan.
All right.
Saving Private Ryan, and I want to do it before the end of the month, so that way we can. That's when the Battle of Normandy was most taking place.
Okay. Sort of a niche film.
Yeah, niche, yes. Not many
I
people.
heard it won the Golden Bear.
All
right, well, folks, thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
I'm gonna watch this next one in Hungarian, and then
there you go.